Welcome to Rom Wills. Money matters. The time is ripe for building black businesses. The time is ripe. Now, this is no disrespect to anyone who's, not of African American descent or, our brothers from other mothers. But with everything going on now, the time is ripe for building up black businesses. Because look, basically, we have to take care of ourselves. I know a lot of people out there, they want to demand everything from everyone else, but one of the main things that black people can do in this country is build up businesses and do them well. It will make a big difference because everything ultimately comes down to economics. And let's just be real, there's millions of people out of business regardless of race. Regardless of race. There's millions of people out of work. There are businesses that are closing. A lot of businesses been knocked out by this lockdown. They were already on razor thin ice anyway. And, this lockdown just being like closed for just a month has knocked a lot out. Because in the area I live in, it's fairly affluent. It's a six-figure area. So the median income is six figures. All right. And yet, I'm noticing a lot of empty storefronts. Go to the local mall. Like I was walking in the local mall with a friend the other day, and half the stores were closed. Half the stores were closed. And to be honest, they were closing anyway before all of this happened. Before the lockdowns and everything, the mall was emptying out anything because it had a Sears in there. That's closed, so that's a big old space in there. And the only thing keeping up the local mall is a Macy's that's doing the best in the region. It's actually doing the best, and a lot of that is from online sales because I know several people there. In fact, I was walking with one of my friends during her lunch break there. All right, so it's like a lot's going down, and a lot of things are changing. But see, here's the thing. And then, of course, we got the racial justice issues and all of that. And a lot of that is around money, a lot of job discrimination and everything. But see, here's the thing. People still need services. People still need services. They still want certain products. And there is, as I learned working retail, opportunities. Seriously, there's a ton of opportunities. And this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it. Now, understand something. You don't necessarily, most businesses, believe it or not, don't need a loan to start off. In fact, you don't really get a loan. You don't really get a loan until you've shown that you can give them the money back, so you're doing well. Most businesses are started with credit cards, savings. You might, depending on what you're doing, you might be able to get an angel investor or something who's willing to take a chance. But whatever the case, you could start it. Even if you started out small, just go ahead and start it out. Because I'm going to tell you what, on a bigger level, in fact, you might even get governments to encourage businesses for one simple reason. Governments make their money mainly not off of citizens' tax dollars, but business sales tax and all of that. Like if you go in an area, you go in any area and the businesses are gone, usually that affects the services in the area because that was paid for by those retail tax dollars and business tax dollars and stuff, right? So the one thing that's going to be needed overall, and really, even though I'm focusing on black businesses, just period, some businesses are going to have to pop up. A lot closed, but they're going to need it. In fact, and especially since if you look at a lot of bigger retail stores and some restaurants, they're closing. But the reality is people still going to want to eat out, or people they're going to still want some things. And then, it becomes a matter of what type of business. Like if I'm talking black business, right? One of the greatest opportunities for black businesses are actually supermarkets. Yeah, I said supermarkets, food. People still going to eat. People going to eat regardless. Even if they ain't going out, they still got to buy the food. So like, and there are only a handful of black-owned grocery stores and supermarkets across the country. And I know there's one. It's called, I think, Soul Food Markets. They're trying to build up like a chain. Well, they want to build up a chain of black-owned supermarkets. But I mean, it's a tough thing, but it's an opportunity. Even if you start off small, and that's just one area, and it's the hair industry. I could do a whole shoot. I could do an on-demand video on the hair industry. You know, because that's always going. That's like one of those businesses going to stay there because hair keeps growing. You know, hair keeps growing, and so that's an opportunity. Clothing. I mean, the opportunities are there. But see, understand something. If you look at business, think in terms of what people are always going to like. Don't not in terms of like some, extras. See, a lot of times there's a lot of businesses, regardless of racial background, that people get into that people don't need. It's like the extra thing, what they'll use their like extra money for. But if you focus on businesses such as if you focus on businesses like food, definitely. I mean, and that's a big range. I mean, I mentioned supermarkets, but I've known some small black-owned businesses that are actually little farms. They get a couple acres or something, grow some food, boom, and then you could expand that to farmers markets or something. That's a business. Even just organizing that, like in where I live, they would have a farmers market every Saturday morning. Now, yeah, people got their mask on and it's not as crowded, but it's still there. You know, that could be a business. Delivering the food, distribution, truck driving, everything, delivering the products. Boom. There's so much for food there, or actually having like different food products. Just on that, food, clothing. There's a lot of black owned clothing designers and everything. You could expand that. People still want those clothes. And in fact, somebody in that type of business, if you have if you have a brick and mortar store, because everything's going to open up back up anyway. If you have a brick and mortar store with a combination of brick and mortar, you want to have the online presence. Definitely. I'm gonna get into that in a second. Brick and mortar, online, maybe do some festivals, do a lot of stuff. You can go far with that. Food, clothing, and shelter. Real estate should be, seriously, everybody should lease, if they can, they're able to. Maybe get a 4 unit, something like that, or a commercial. One of the things I want to do, I have a vision of getting a commercial property. I'm not big, just from family experience, I'm not big on rental property, especially with everything going on now. But that's just personal. If you get that, that's a business. And that creates a whole other stuff, because then that opens it up for contract and everything. It's like just on the basics. And shoot, even cars. People still going to have cars. Think in terms of basics. There's no barrier for anybody to get in. There's no barrier. Now, when you get into some other fields or something more sophisticated, oh yeah. But focus on the basics, and you can always bring in some money. And the time is right for it now. So much is going down. There's an opening. There is an opening, and that's the most powerful thing, the economic thing, especially for black businesses. This is the time now. Like, feed yourself. Feed yourself. Instead of marching for somebody else to empower you, empower yourself. And the key is just start the businesses and just do them well. And for some, over the years, I've said that, and I'll get some people, well, the whites won't support it. Bullshit. Because business, as long as you got a good product, I am with this. I remember when I was living in Columbia, not Columbia. I'm thinking someplace else. Arlington, Virginia, right? I was living on Columbia Pike, but I was living in Arlington, Virginia. There was a black-owned soul food restaurant, and to be honest, one of the owners, a young guy, he was kind of hardcore. Yet most of the customers were white. And there was a couple other places like that in the DC area. They were selling that soul food, those ribs, everything had white customers. Just do the business. Just do the business. You don't have to hang out with them afterwards. But, you know, shoot, even some racists are coming in and spending that money for that food. So just, yeah, the time is right now, though. Think of something and just go for it. Anyway, that's all I got. You know what, especially now, more than ever. Let's go make that money.